coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Hi there, friends. I'm meteorologist Robert Speta. This is meteorologist Lee Southwick. Talkin Tropics.
Yes, I was just sharing our Facebook stream. We are on Facebook, so if you have any questions, feel free to write in the comments, and we will answer them for you.
Yeah, and well, right now we got some kind of breaking news.
Yes.
We have Jerry out there. Now, newly named tropical storm. This would be the 10th named storm of 2025. All right, so let's put this in perspective, though.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people think of this right off the bat, and they go, hold.
Yeah, we don't like the location of it normally, but like you said.
Yeah, we got it all about perspective. This is going to turn towards the north. But
for us, however,
yes.
we are, Sorry, I will let you spit it out. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
We're good. Hey, Antigua and Barbuda, parts of the Caribbean,
yes,
are going to be pretty close on getting some impacts here, and maybe even Bermuda, while the Florida coast could be looking at some waves. So, Lee, I'll let you take it away. Let's talk about where Jerry is right now and our intensity on this guy.
So Jerry is a tropical storm. You can see that organization there on satellite. So it has sustained winds of 45 miles an hour. It's moving decently fast to the west at 24 miles an hour. So it is moving towards the Caribbean islands. That's what we're watching out for. So there's a look at your cone. It is expected to strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane by around Wednesday evening. So coming up in the next day or two, likely becoming a hurricane. And you can see Robert's zooming in. There are the islands. So you see San Juan, that's Puerto Rico. But then you get some of those, some of the Caribbean islands. The cone gets very close to them. Now, Robert, I will say on this path, at least those islands would likely be on the weaker side of the storm, but still going to see the potential for some impacts, at least in the form of waves and rip currents, but maybe even some gusty conditions for those islands.
Yeah, I think Antigua and Barbuda probably are going to go under tropical storm watches and warnings at least. And those are the islands that are about the closest to the path. So right out in here, and it's nothing that they haven't seen before. I get it. And
fair.
Also, if this track does go towards the north, and I do believe at this point, when it starts to turn north, we're probably going to get a little bit of shear on it, which makes the west side, the weak side of the storm, even more weaker.
Now,
but
I will say real quick, just reading
it.
stuff from the National Hurricane Center, right now the tropical storm force winds extend out 140 miles from the center. So especially if it hugs the western side of the cone there, yes, you get some of those winds.
And I think, and if we go, let's actually go to, first off, look at the broader picture. It's pointed right at Bermuda, and you got to give...
Or Bermuda.
Yeah, Imelda and Humberto, now maybe this, but if Imelda and Humberto taught us anything, though, is that even a little bit of a waiver can change the forecast a lot for that island. And good news for the east coast of Florida, this is going to stay well towards the east. But you're talking about the wind field, so let's zoom right in on this, because I think it's kind of interesting. And before we ever break down the forecast, first and foremost, myself, Lee, any meteorologist worth their salt, the first thing you look at is satellite picture, right? So you kind of get an idea of this. And what did you say the mileage was for the extent of the tropical?
140.
140. So, yeah, well, that's just looking at the cloud cover. Remember, the cloud cover doesn't equate to the extent of the tropical storm strength winds, but it does have some girth on it. The other thing is that if we look at the satellite picture, you actually can see some pretty decent outflow loft right in there, right there. This is upper level anticyclonic for rotation that allows basically this to have big lungs to breathe and kind of develop more. So I think, honestly, in a little bit of dry air out ahead of this, my humble opinion, I think Cat 1 would be on the lower end of things. And I think that this could actually get a little bit stronger, Lee. What are your thoughts? I know this is just looking at it right now, but what are your thoughts?
I think it could too. I would love to see if you have it. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do we have stuff like sea surface temperatures, and then the outlook for Saharan dust, for wind shear, stuff like that. We can kind of assess the environment that this storm Jerry will be moving into.
Well, so we know we got some dry air just towards the north of it, and here's the Saharan dust. It is actually just towards the north and east.
Yep, so it kind of avoids a lot of that dust.
Yeah, it's just out ahead of it, and you can kind of see the wrap as it passes just north of the Caribbean and out towards Bermuda. Yeah,
it falls.
It kind of gets away from it, doesn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it does. And then we know the waters are warm, but this isn't an area where we've already seen a lot of storms pass by. But yeah, it doesn't look it. Unfortunately, there's still plenty of energy in the water for that.
Especially that spot right just northeast of Antigua and Barbuda. You got mid to high 80s. So these are just spots where the energy is definitely in place, good outflow, it gets escaped from that dry air a little bit.
Yeah.
And it allows it to intensify. Now, number one question, I already feel the vibes coming in right now. Lee, what are your thoughts? Can the forecast change? Could it go towards the west?
I mean, never say never. Looking at this, there's a couple of things I like here. So, for instance, let's talk about some of these models like the HMON. You see those that are further to the west. Yesterday and the day before, they were pointing more of a track towards Florida. Even they have now started to agree that it will turn to the north and then eventually off to the northeast. And so that just means models are agreeing on the strength of this trough that will dip down in our area. It has to do also with the Bermuda high pressure, a lot of ingredients that we have been watching with other past storms that have caused them to turn. Looks like these models are now all agreeing that it will take that same sort of path. So we are looking forward to this trough and this front for a couple of different reasons too. I think it will kind of help our temperatures a bit more comfortable, but also mainly boot Jerry out of the way. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, Robert, but I know that we are watching other areas of low pressure off of our coast that could be impacting our weather too.
I'll get to that in just one second. I got a couple more graphics to get through on Jerry.
I don't want to.
We're going to get there, I promise, because we're going to talk more about impacts along the coast of Florida and the east coast of the United States. They're more closer to home, but these are the key things that I think that we should take away from Jerry right now. Is the Caribbean should watch very closely.
Yes.
No direct impacts on the Florida coastline and the East Coast, but waves could develop.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been seeing this steady nor'easter recently, so it's going to be no much different than that. But also, tides are already high, and just more wave action is not going to help. And the Bermuda needs to monitor this in the long range. And we can even see here on the long range ECMWF guidance kind of showing you that churn towards the north with that front kind of dipping on down and pulling it up along there.
There we go.
So there you go. But if we watch this, here you go, Lee. This is why I want to wait before we jump, because you can see that low develop here.
Look right off our coastal area.
Then you got another low right there, and that's the number one question, right? What is this, right? Before I get into it, you were talking about the shear, the dip in the jet stream.
Yes.
Not conducive for tropical cyclone development, but could be conducive for a westerly low. So let's get into this now. Lee, you were talking about a new low developing. So what can you tell us here?
So we've seen this, honestly, I remember it from over the weekend. Did you see it over the weekend too in models and stuff? Kind of showing the possibility of something maybe subtropical. Would you call it subtropical perhaps?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Something off the coast starting to form near the Carolinas. And so this would be more of a concern for areas in, say, the Outer Banks. But for us, it would bring us impacts, too, in the way that we have seen recently. So we're talking winds, stronger wind gusts out there. The possibility of these onshore showers, and of course some beach erosion, some higher than normal high tides, the bigger seas. Look at those winds. Okay, so this is this coming Saturday, correct?
Yes.
And so once again, over the weekend, we're dealing with these breezy conditions at the beaches, these higher than normal high tides, beach erosion still a big concern. It just happens every weekend, it feels like, Robert.
And look at Moorhead and the Outer Banks, because we've all seen the videos. Actually, I got to ask Jackson, our producer in the background here, hey, do we still have that video in the library there about the houses falling into the water in the Outer Banks?
I don't see it.
All right. If we do, we'll pop it up. If not, it's fine. But we've probably all seen that those houses kind of on the stilts in the Outer Banks falling down. They just did the last few days. There was a few more that went in.
Yeah.
Because of just the natural erosion taking place there, but also because, we've had that nor'easter. Prior to that, we had Imelda and Humberto. Prior to that, we had another storm system off the coast. It's been pounding that area, and that right there is not going to continue to help at all.
No, like you said, so it's an ever-changing coastline that happens, naturally. That's why we are constantly restoring our beaches. Woo!
Yeah, this is the first time we're both seeing that right there. This is how we both act at our desk.
Yeah.
When we see like a model, we go, oh.
We do something like that, and then the rest of the newsroom gets scared. We're like, don't worry, no, it's not us. Oh, man.
But seriously, this would not be not good.
More houses would go down, unfortunately. It makes me so sad for them.
And this wouldn't be this. I think this would be subtropical. And when we say subtropical, for like all intents and purposes, the average person, you don't have to be like, what's the difference? But basically, there's kind of fronts. So right here, you can see there's a front. Right here, you can see a front versus a symmetrical warm core low. But I guarantee for somebody in Morehead City or the Outer Banks, you're probably going to go, it doesn't matter. It's windy, and you have onshore winds in either case.
If you get winds up to 60, like that's it is what it is. So that's what we will be watching for them this weekend. But also, as mentioned, bringing us some impacts here too, mainly to coastal areas. But something we're gonna have to watch as we approach the weekend: rain chances. That's still a little uncertain. Kind of depends on how this system sets up, but something that we'll be watching very closely.
Actually, let's. Maybe I don't have like a coastal rain forecast up on here right now. But yeah, especially Friday. I think Friday is going to be kind of a sloppy day in the Jacksonville, Florida area. So this brings me to my next point: is that this is coming in kind of from the south that we're watching right here, and it's that time of year where we kind of. Of course, we're watching Jerry, but Jerry is in a spot where it's more than likely going to turn towards the north this time of year. So we often start to look down towards the south. In fact, it was 1 year. Goodness, it all blends. 1 year ago, we were watching Milton form out here.
Yeah, and I don't like, it makes me nervous thinking about the Caribbean, Robert, because that's a lot of untapped energy. It's very warm water. And we haven't seen anything really start to form there yet. So that is just energy sitting there waiting to be fuel for a system. And that is why, and thank goodness, right now we don't have any areas highlighted in the Caribbean. If something forms there, that will have our undivided attention.
Yes. Especially if it gets away from the shear towards the north and it has time to develop. And I emphasize time because a lot of people are probably looking at this going, well, what about that one in the Gulf? That's 10%. That's got a spot. It just doesn't have the time.
Yeah.
It looks like this is going to kind of run towards the west. Right now it's over the Yucatan, so that's disrupting it. And even if it gets into the Gulf here, it just is going, you can kind of see even a broad rotation already right there.
Yeah, it is trying. And once it moves over the Bay of Campeche, once again, that's warm water, and that is why it has been highlighted with that 10% chance. But kind of the same thing here, whether it develops or not, a lot of those impacts the same for Belize and for Mexico, a lot of rain for them.
Oh, that's not the one I was trying to do. But anyways, I think all these areas here along the coast should watch out for that threat of flooding. It's some heavy rainfall. And another one of those situations where even if it's not named, it still could be problematic, Often, and this is my humble opinion, my little hot take on this, Lee, is that I think that when storms are tropical depressions or just a big wave, they can sometimes be more dangerous than a full-on hurricane. And my sense, and my idea behind that is not from the raw power of it, but from the philosophy of it. Because people, if they hear a name, they go, whoa? But at the same time, they still can spawn stuff. Okay, here's a local tidbit. I didn't know this off the top of my head, so don't think I do. But I did check this a few minutes ago about the climate for today. October 7th, 1947, a weak tropical depression made landfall near the Jacksonville area.
1947.
1947. So we were in the war, or no, this was after the war. But a tornado hit the Green Cove Springs area.
Wow.
And caused damage. I mentioned that because at the time that area was an active military base, so that would have been interesting. Post-war tornado. I think it damaged like 6 homes. But it just shows that, that I guess it goes to my point. My rambling here is to my point that even weaker stuff can cause some problems.
Oh, absolutely. It's, like you said, it's just mentally people are like, oh, just a tropical depression, but man, it can cause damage. And I know we're going to get to it later, but I'm just going to call it out now in case anyone else had their attention caught by it like me. But on the other side of Mexico, there is a well-organized...
Slide. Let's go.
Okay.
Well, my next slide was this. Jerry has been named. Karen would be right after it. Now we got this. There we go.
Because, we can see this on all of our maps when we look at the Atlantic. It's not something that we are purposely ignoring. It's just not an impact to us or in the Atlantic basin. But man, it is quite a hurricane.
And I think, this is up to a 2 right now. But it's not a fish storm by any means, but it is going to move towards north to relatively cooler waters, come on shore over Baja California, bring some heavy rainfall there. But you know what often is a problem with these type of storms for the United States, Lee? You know where I'm going with this one?
Or the rainfall that moves into the dry areas.
Yes. I mean, remember the
Grand Canyon had a lot of
also the deadly
before.
floods in Texas. Remember the girl at 4th of July weekend?
Oh, goodness.
That was a result of a tropical system that weakened out, but it pumped that moisture up into the areas. So I almost guarantee
even San Diego gets impacts, and so you're right. That's not on a great path for Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, we'll watch Texas too. That these areas that aren't prepared to take a lot of rain all at once, and you get some significant flooding out of that.
And mind you, it won't be tropical by that point by any means, but it definitely is an influx of moisture over a relatively dry area, flash flood warnings and stuff like that. And I can almost guarantee that National Weather Service offices in that area, Yuma, Phoenix, Albuquerque, they're probably all going, all right, we need to get ready, for some decent impacts from this one.
And it's something that, I don't know for sure. We're a couple days away. But when systems like this reach places like the Grand Canyon, there are a lot of hikers out there that disconnect, don't know it's coming, or aren't prepared for that. When you get that water running down the canyon walls, filling those areas, it's very dangerous, very scary situation.
I guess that's part of the why you do it. You disconnect, but oh goodness, that's scary.
So just in case anyone kind of heading over in that direction by the weekend, please make sure they are not disconnected and paying close attention.
Let's keep going west.
Okay.
We're going to keep going west. We're going to bounce out to the Western Pacific. Look at this guy.
Wow.
That is Category 4. Typhoon Halong.
Actually, I don't like that eye.
Right?
Man.
This is going to be a little too close for comfort for a few islands out here. Now, the good news is it looks like it's going to churn towards the north and eventually the northeast before impacting Japan. But these islands right here, I used to vacation here a lot. These little tiny islands, you see them offshore? These are called the Izu Islands.
Okay.
Fun tidbit, they're technically part of Tokyo Prefecture.
Oh.
So when you go to them, you can say you went to Tokyo, but they're just these beautiful tropical islands, subtropical.
I want to go to both. I want to go to the actual city and those islands.
Well, the greatest part about them is that their infrastructure is built with Tokyo tax money. So they're just middle of nowhere, and they got just these amazing things everywhere.
Wow.
The bad part is they are volcanic. In fact, there's one island there called Miyake-jima where a lot of the school kids go to school, and this is true. School kids go to school, and part of their kit in their backpack is a gas mask in case the volcano starts to erupt sulfur, which it does quite often.
I was about to ask, how often does it happen? Okay.
It happens, and so it's just in case, it's part of living there, I guess. But my point is, it's 20,000, 30,000 people live on these islands, and they are going to be impacted by what would be about 140, 145 mile per hour winds. And they're volcanic too, so volcanic soil has a tendency to cause landslides more than other soil. It's loose. It's just freshly made. It usually is in layers. So there's one island right here called Oshima, which this big one, O is big in Japanese, so it's big island. Fun fact. That like 10 years ago had a very deadly landslide. Like 500 people died on it due to a storm with a track just like this. So
gosh,
it's interesting. And this is for our American audience too. The one thing you notice on this graphic, Lee, can you point something out that you will not see on an American graphic? And I just find it interesting the way JMA names their storms. This is the official name of this storm.
Violent?
Yes.
Wow. So I didn't even notice that until you asked me to actually really look at the graphic.
Well, it's interesting because they instead of Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, 5, they named their storms tropical, severe tropical, strong, very strong, and violent.
So violent is the top end.
Violent's the top end. Which
is also, you said Cat 4, though, like equivalent. Yes. And so violent, there's no like Cat 5.
Violent is the Cat 5. They call them super, but it's more of a nomenclature. Okay. Super typhoon is actually more of a Chinese thing. But violent is on the top end of it, and I think that gets the point across. Imagine, there's no hype there. It's like, instead of a number, it's a violent storm. There you go. But yeah, that's Ha Long, located out there in the Westpac. The good news is it's going to turn towards the east of Tokyo, so we're not expecting a direct impact on there. But
we'll watch those islands. Yeah. Thank you. Just for anyone who's just randomly tuning in, if you did not know, Robert lived and worked in Japan, and that is why he knows all about that. True expert here. You're getting it firsthand.
Yeah, I know about Oshima because I was there and I covered that landslide where hundreds of people died, and goodness gracious. But let's go back to the top of this. We got a few more minutes to talk here, so let's bring it back home, Lee.
The main reason why we jumped on today with you all was because we have Jerry. Tropical Storm Jerry has officially formed. For those of you watching on the first coast, not an immediate concern to us. It looks like it will curve out to sea, but if you have any interest in the Caribbean islands, this is something to watch closely. Likely strengthening into a hurricane, could bring impacts to some of those islands. From there, it's going to continue to go to the north, and could it impact Bermuda? Maybe. It's getting a little too close for comfort there as well. So if you have any cruise ships planned or just tropical getaways for your weekend, this is something you have to watch closely. It will be bypassing those islands Thursday and Friday, so the end of the week, and then moving to the north by the weekend.
And, there's already some pretty decent waves out there, too, just due to the nor'easter we've been getting.
Oh, yeah?
Of course, my graphic's not going to load right now on this. Let's see if... Oh, there we go. So... Let's this is so we basically have been seeing this consistent onshore wind. We have this full moon that's still out there, so the waves have been rough out to sea. Let's go over to some real-time buoy data. In fact, so I feel for some shipping traffic out there right now, Lee.
Man, it's been so rough for them for a long time.
And I know one of our producers just got back from a cruise out there. I got to ask him about how it was when Humberto was there, because it looks like Royal Caribbean still was like, we're going for it. We got to make our money. Because my time in the Navy, I tell you, anything over 8 to 9 feet, even on a big ship, we got another sailor in here who's like, it doesn't feel good. In fact, did you know? So the limits on ships when from an operational forecaster, Lee, did you know that they're usually about 12 to 15 feet, but it's not because of the strength of the ship. Do you know why it's usually about 12 to 15 feet?
It's not because of the strength. I mean, I'm just thinking like...
It's nothing to do with the ship itself.
Just the sailors?
That's it. The sailor, because at about 15 feet, most of the ship becomes incapable, and it's like, all right, well, we can put it on cruise control, but we're not fighting a war right now. Like, every sailor on board is like just passed out.
I know we have less than a minute, but real quick, how many times were you stuck in seas really rough like that?
Too many times.
Fair enough.
I've been in the roaring, the screaming 50s. where that's in the southern hemisphere, south of Australia. That I got in about 15-foot seas. Biggest I've been in is about 25 to 30. We went out to sea to get away from a typhoon, and the captain of my ship at the time did not listen to the weather forecasters as much as he should have.
Yes. You, the weather forecaster?
And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, man, I get so seasick. I can't even, But anyway, Jerry, a concern for shipping channels. For those of you heading to the Caribbean, maybe Bermuda, but not a concern locally here to the First Coast.
Yep, that's it. And, of course, Hurricane Central. FirstCoastNews.com/Hurricane Central. We got more information there. Thanks for joining me, Lee.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right.
Y'all have a great one.
Bye.